Hello, and welcome to my channel. Try This is a series breaking down a certain game or playstyle of a game, and today we're going to be talking about Commander and breaking down Jetmir, Nexus of Revels, a go wide and also go tall synergy commander. Let's dive in. Jetmir is a 5/4 cat demon that costs 1 red, green, and white, and has 3 abilities that buff our creatures. With 3 or more creatures on the field, they get a +1/+0 in Vigilance. With 6 or more creatures, another +1/+0 in Trample, and with 9 or more creatures, another +1/+0 in Double Strike. Jetmir is the dream commander for decks that want to go wide and tall. Normally, token decks need something to anthem them and make them a little greater threat for the board and the end game. This is why Craterhoof Behemoth is a popular card for token decks. Inversely, go tall decks tend to be weak to go wide board states as they can't block enough creatures, so they tend to include life gain to try and mitigate the damage that gets through. Jetmir solves both problems by giving our creatures vigilance to protect ourselves from other creature-based decks, and a combination of trample and double strike to ensure our creatures are a major threat to the board. Let's say Jetmir has 8 1/1 creatures on the field. That's 8 4/1 creatures that can dish out a total of 64 trample damage to our opponents, not counting Jetmir. Jetmir himself would be coming out with 16 commander damage. This is incredibly powerful, as getting 9 creatures on the field isn't that hard in red, green, or white, let alone all these colors combined. Budget is different for everyone, and I'll be discussing some cards under $10 near the end of the video. Starting off with Ramp and Mana Base, where we have our usual suspects: Arcane Signet, Sol Ring, and Thematic Compass. These 3 artifacts are auto-includes in most of the decks I run. Both Arcane Signet and Sol Ring are just solid mana rocks, and Thematic Compass helps save us when we're missing land drops and eventually flips into a protection land, which is normally useful. In addition to them, we're running Skyclave Relic and Dowsing Dagger. Skyclave Relic scales with the game state with its kicking cost. Dowsing Dagger shouldn't be difficult to flip if we either get it early in the game when most of our opponents don't have that many creatures, or when Jetmir provides trample to the equipped creature. Coming in at 2 of the most expensive cards in the list is Bootlegger's Stash and the Great Henge. Bootlegger's Stash is a new card that seems pretty pushed, and Great Henge is a card that has proven to be pushed. Both are easy cuts for budget lists, but both provide amazing ramp value. Ramp in green is cheap, and we'll revisit that later in the budget section of this video. For creatures, we're running Birds of Paradise, Circle of the Dreams Druid, Sakura Tribe Elder, and even Golden Guardians to provide ramp. Golden Guardians needs a bit more work to get there, but can also generate creatures for us if we get shut down or don't draw into our other token generation. For enchantments, we're running Growing Rites of Itlimoc and Smothering Tithe. Growing Rites should be easy to flip for this deck, but this list doesn't really take advantage of the absurd mana production Itlimoc and Dreams Druid can normally produce. Smothering Tithe has proven to be a solid card in Commander and can be easily included in any list that has access to white. Cultivate, Nature's Lore, Skyshroud Claim, and Tempted Discovery wrap up our sorcery ramp spells. I always suggest running Tempted Discovery. It engages the rest of the table and always starts a wave of discussion and politicking, which is fun. With all of these spells, in addition to our 35 lands, we should have a pretty solid mana base that gives us plenty of land drops and opportunities to get ahead of our opponents. Alright, it's time to populate our board. I think the 3 best creatures for this is Dragon Broodmother, Dragon Lair Spider, and Tendershoot Dryad. All these creatures create a powerhouse on their own if our commander is on the field. Assemble the Legion, Luminarch's Ascension, and Scoot Swarm will also eventually provide us with a ton of value. Assemble the Legion takes a few turns to turn into a major threat, but like the previous examples, all 3 of these can run out of control on their own. Dragon Master, Outcast, and Court of Grace will give us flyers on upkeep, while the Court also introduces the Monarch into the game. With Jetmir giving our creatures vigilance, it should be very easy for us to hold on to, providing extra card draw for us. Finally, Helm of the Host is one of my favorite equipment, and this card synergizes so well with this deck. Putting it on any of our token production creatures like Tendershoot Dryad or Avenger of Zendikar will make our board state explode. Putting it on our commander amplifies our creature's power even more, making those double strike and trample abilities really shine. Alright, every deck needs some card draw, and Jetmir is no exception. Starting off with the usual suspects, we have the Great Henge and Guardian Project. These don't trigger with our tokens, but we're still running 24 creatures including Jetmir, so they should still provide plenty of value throughout the game. Court of Grace and Elemental Bond are both reasonably priced enchantments that work well with the deck. As I mentioned, Vigilance in all of our creatures makes defending Monarch easy, and Jetmir's power buff should enable most creatures to trigger Elemental Bond. Esper Sentinel, Orion Frostfang, and Toski will provide us with plenty of card draw throughout the game. Esper's tax is amplified by Jetmir, making it even more reliable than usual. Jetmir providing trample helps ensure that we get those Aran and Toski damage triggers, while Double Strike makes us draw double the cards. And last but not least, the Shamanic Revelation, which will provide us with a bunch of life gain and card draw. Moving on to the synergy cards, we'll start off with 2 Planeswalkers in the deck. We have Elspeth's Sun's Champion and Huatli Radiant Champion. Elspeth's +1 ability gets us instantly to the next bracket of Jetmir's abilities, and her ult is an amazing emblem that applies flying to all of our already scary creatures. Huatli can quickly get in the ult range, providing even more card draw for us, or her -1 ability can get Jetmir up to lethal commander damage territory. Adeline can be a huge threat on her own, also creating more creatures for us on attack. Impervious Great Worm can also be a huge threat on its own, and can almost one-shot a full health opponent if all 3 of Jetmir's abilities are unlocked. A small downside of Jetmir's buffs is that it doesn't increase her toughness at all, which leaves favorable trades for our opponents until we get Double Strike. Iroas, God of Victory, Loyal Guardian, and Godzilla, King of the Monsters will help alleviate that. Iroas will keep our attacking creatures safe while also giving them a menace as another useful evasion ability. Godzilla will completely avoid this issue by making lethal damage use power instead of toughness, and finally Loyal Guardian will just buff everything in general. If you happen to have Kruthar's Crusade, it'll be better for this, but for balance reasons I decided not to run it in my list. Finally, Aura Shards and Beastmaster Ascension are 2 solid cards that play into go-wide strategies. Aura Shards help keeps the board under control, and Beastmaster just anthems our creatures significantly. Moving on to protection, Jetmir being removed from the field doesn't completely shut off our deck, but it does significantly reduce the threat to our opponents. If our opponents have any instance B removal, then we could be swinging duds into some of our opponents. To protect Jetmir, I've added Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves, and Shalai, whom we can also sink mana into to buff our board. I'm also running Boros Charm, Heroic Intervention, and Teferi's Protection to help protect our whole board state. Darksteel Plate, Shielded by Faith, and Gift of Immortality aren't in this deck, but there are also great ways to protect the commander. Budget is subjective to everybody, but I'm going to shout out some replacements for some cards over $10 in the example list, as well as some other cards that didn't make it into the cut but are still budget friendly. Starting off with card draw, special shout out to Camaraderie, Return of the Wild Speaker, and Beast Whisperer, who would also provide a ton of value in this list. These can easily provide additional card draw, replacing effective cards like the Grey Henge or Guardian Project. In terms of ramp spells, the Signet or Talisman cycles, in addition to Wayfarer's Bubble, could replace expensive cards like the Great Henge, Bootlegger's Stash, or Smothering Tithe, while Kodama's Reach, Farseek, and Rampant Growth are all good budget ramp spells as well. Finally, Mirari's Wake will double our mana output and also anthem our creatures. In general, it's just a good card to advance our board state. Giant Adaphage is honestly a way better card than something like Impervious Great Worm. I just really like the idea of a 1916 with Indestructible Vigilance, Trample, and Double Strike. But if you're looking for a budget card, Giant Adaphage is an amazing card in this list. Ornithopter of Paradise can directly replace Birds of Paradise as a budget option, and also Ornithopter of Paradise can be slid into any deck list that you have, being a colorless artifact creature. Loyal Apprentice, Myojin of Blooming Dawn, and Omnath Locus of Rage are all good token production creatures that can replace expensive cards like Tendershoot Dryad or Wandering Archaic. For some more budget removal spells, Artifact Mutation and Aura Mutation are 2 that play into our commander's ability very well. Primeval Bounty and Sandworm Convergence both create creatures for our machine. Sandworm Convergence also stops flyers, making it easier to defend ourselves with the vigilance Jetmir provides. As for finding budget lands or additional budget mana rocks, I recommend checking out managathering.com. This website has a comprehensive list of all the different dual lands and tri-lands and utility lands that are released so far for Magic the Gathering, as well as all the different mana rocks. A link to it is in the description below. Now, I haven't covered every card in my example list, and if you'd like to see the rest of the deck list, it's in the description below. Jetmir is the perfect commander to not only go wide, but go tall, and is honestly a menace. I highly recommend trying out this commander. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Comment below on cards you think synergize well with this commander. Also, if you have any suggestions for commanders to try out, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, good luck, and have fun.